Hey taxpayers, ever wonder where your hard-earned money goes after Uncle Sam collects it? It's a question that keeps many Americans up at night, tossing and turning between visions of fighter jets and potholes. Well, fret no more. Think of this as your owner's manual to the US budget, explaining just how those dollars translate into services, infrastructure, and yes, even the occasional government boondoggle. Understanding the US budget is like deciphering your teenager's text messages. Confusing, occasionally infuriating, but ultimately crucial to knowing what's going on. Because, let's face it, this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about our collective priorities as a nation. Are we investing in education, healthcare, and a secure future? Or are we funneling funds into programs that make about as much sense as a screen door on a submarine? We'll break down the federal budget, explore who calls the shots on spending, and even delve into the age-old battle of federal versus state spending. Get ready for a wild ride through the ups and downs of American fiscal policy, complete with detours into the absurd and hopefully some laughs along the way. By the end, you'll be fluent in budget speak and ready to impress your friends at parties, or at least not change the subject when someone brings up fiscal policy. All right, folks, let's get down to brass tacks. The US budget is a massive pie and everyone wants a slice. But who gets the biggest piece? Surprise, surprise, it's not always the most deserving. The lion's share of your tax dollars goes to a few key areas. First up, we've got the big kahuna: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. These programs provide a safety net for millions of Americans, from retirees to low-income families. It's essentially the government saying, "We got you." Next up, we have defense spending, which keeps our military humming and our enemies trembling, or at least it should. Think tanks, troops, and the occasional top-secret project that would make even James Bond raise an eyebrow. Let's not forget about interest on the national debt. Remember all that money the government borrowed over the years? Well, someone's got to pay the interest. It's like having a credit card bill that never seems to go away, no matter how much you try to ignore it. And then there's the catch-all category of everything else. This includes everything from funding for education and transportation to scientific research and foreign aid. It's basically the junk drawer of the federal budget, where all the miscellaneous expenses end up. Now, you might be thinking, who gets to decide where all this money goes? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get complicated. The US Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse, which sounds fancy but basically means they control the money. The president can propose a budget, but ultimately, it's up to Congress to approve it. This process involves a lot of back and forth between the House of Representatives and the Senate, with each chamber trying to get its way. It's like a game of budgetary tug-of-war. Except the rope is made of taxpayer dollars, and nobody wants to let go. Of course, it wouldn't be Washington, D.C. without a healthy dose of lobbying from special interest groups, all vying for their piece of the pie. Imagine a pack of hungry wolves circling a campfire, except the campfire is made of money and the wolves wear suits. And if Congress can't agree on a budget, well, that's when things get really fun. Enter the government shutdown, a glorious spectacle where politicians point fingers, essential services grind to a halt, and the American people are left wondering if they can expense their therapy bills. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except you're trapped inside the car and the only radio station playing is C-SPAN. Of course, it wouldn't be government spending without a healthy dose of rules and regulations. Think of it like trying to order a pizza at 3 a.m. There are a lot of restrictions, and it's probably not going to end well. The U.S. budget is subject to a complex web of laws, some dating back to the Founding Fathers, that dictate how money can be spent. For example, there's the Anti-Deficiency Act, which prohibits the government from spending money it doesn't have. Sounds reasonable, right? Except when Congress fails to pass a budget on time and suddenly government agencies are scrambling to keep the lights on. It's like trying to run a marathon with your shoelaces tied together. Frustrating, inefficient, and bound to end in disaster. Then there are earmarks, which are pet projects that individual members of Congress slip into the budget. These can range from the mundane, like funding for a new bridge, to the downright bizarre, like a study on the mating habits of the Bolivian tree frog. Earmarks are often criticized as wasteful spending, but hey, at least they keep things interesting, right?